Alright, so today we coming to you with another episode of Auto Glass Tech Talk, and we got a very special guest with us. I've traveled around a lot of places, and when I travel and do the little open houses and shows, typically this lovely person is always there. She wears multiple hats, she does a ton of different things, and has the mentality of she gets in when she fits in, and she has a helping heart. But we're going to let Emily explain who she is, and what she actually does. So the floor is yours, Emily.
Thank you. So, Emily Jackson, I work for Mygrant Glass. My official title is ADOS Solutions Manager. So, anything that you have questions about ADOS, I'm usually your go-to within the organization. And then now I have social media. So, you're going to see me on a lot of the different forums, and anything that Mygrant Glass posts, that usually is generated some sort of content by myself or posted by myself. And I've tried to give myself the tagline as Mygrant Glass Social Media Gal on Auto Glass Tech Talk. So if you have anything to say about Mygrant, I'm going to be coming back swinging.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. And I saw one of your social media posts, which was if you spray, you get paid. So can you actually share a little bit more information about the spraying and disinfectant and that type stuff?
Yeah, so I actually got the idea from Auto Glass Tech Talk. I saw that you guys were starting to get paid for the line item of COVID-19 hazmat disinfectant. And we, as a distributor, have been looking to find out ways that we can keep you guys healthy and keep you guys safe. So the seat covers, steering wheel covers, and then also our hand sanitizer and surface sanitizer that doesn't smell all that great, but at least you get a nose check every time you use it, True. Sniffer's still going right. So, that's great to get paid. We want to make sure, in our industry, we don't always get paid for the jobs or for the quality of job that we do. So, if we can see a little bit more of overhead, or if our customers can get paid a little bit more by taking the precautionary measures, then we definitely want to let them know that. So, this COVID thing has completely changed our industry. So,
yeah, yes, it definitely has. It definitely has.
And
so, with that, talking about Mygrant, you have the Monday deals. What exactly is that? What are you guys doing with all that now?
Yeah, so Mygrant Mondays started about a month ago, and we started showcasing 1 or 2 items, but now we're up to about 5 items a week, and it's just going to be it's a discount for you guys. It runs for a week. We do call it Mygrant Monday, but the deal goes from Monday to Friday, Saturday.
So it's a deal for the whole week. It's not just the one day.
Okay.
No, it's the whole week.
Okay, yeah, because I know some unnamed competitors. They used to do Wacky Wednesday, and it'd only be for one day. So just curious about that.
No, I can't get my stuff together on Monday. I don't expect you guys to. So we're gonna keep it.
Yeah.
So spill the tea for us and give us a deal. What's the special for this Monday or for the month of May? Give us some ideas of what's going on sale.
Yeah, so this week we've got some Delta Kit items on sale.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, and they're going well. We've got a rack on sale that's hitting, hot off the items.
Okay.
I think I hear this. Everyone keeps talking about this rack. This rack. I think I'm gonna have to get one.
Yeah, it's a swinging deal. It's like $132, I believe. Don't quote me.
Is that the one that CPI makes, or?
Oh, you're gonna.
Sorry. Not
put me on the spot, right? All right.
On the spot.
Give me just a second. We'll continue chatting, and I'll let you know who makes it. Yeah. I knew I should have printed all this stuff out.
But where can you find them at? So if you're not in the branch, where else can people find the promotions at?
So actually, this promotion was made for social media to actually gain more of our social media followers and build our content, because since COVID-19 started, we had sales reps that were going to different customers, and they were like, hey, stay out. We only want our customers. We want to limit exposure, which is really smart for them. And so we were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get the message out there that we're still here, we're here to support you guys, and what deals can we provide? So Mygrant Monday actually started as it's social media. You can find us on Facebook at Mygrant Glass. We also have a Mygrant Glass Espanol, so we're trying to promote for our Spanish-speaking customers, so you're going to see a lot more data and content that way. And then also different regions have Facebooks for updates and content there. So you can always find Mygrant Monday. It loads about 7 a.m. Eastern time. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, there it is. And we'll put a picture of it in the actual video, so everybody who wants to see it, it'll be in the link, and you'll see it. But that is the rack, and with all their specials.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
And shout out to Shannon Kern. She's a regional rep, I think, in the Midwest. And shout out to Leanne. I think she does Texas or parts of it. And they post a lot, so you can follow your Mygrant sales rep, and they post a lot of stuff or share a lot of stuff too.
They do, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's roll into the calibration questions, since you're the calibration lady for Mygrant. I think the biggest question that a lot of guys who are already in the industry always ask, do they need prior experience to jumping in it? Or how exactly does all that work? Can someone just say, I'm going to do it, screw it, here's the kit, let's go? Or they have to actually have more training than, I know they get initial training with you guys, but they have to have more training than that, or is there something else they have to do to get into it? Like, what do you suggest?
Definitely. So I've seen it, and I've actually trained people from 15 years old to 70 years old in calibration. It really depends, and even the initial training, I would say, it really depends on what your diagnostic experience is. As an industry in a whole, we haven't had much diagnostic experience by plugging in a scan tool into the OBD2 port and going through the different steps. But we do have guys that have been in the collision industry or have had prior experience with diagnostic tools. If they do, then in some aspects, that customer will say, hey, I feel comfortable with walking through the steps and figuring out the steps, and I don't want any training. And that's fine. We're always here to help if they decide to go that route. And if they feel comfortable, I think you're not ever going to blow anything up or hurt anything on the vehicle. So go for it. But we do have guys who do want training, and that's what we provide, and we think that that's the best solution in order to calibrate. No prior experience. We walk through that. Guys who pick it up a little bit quicker are the guys who are tech savvy, but I have had guys who have flip phones and that are colorblind. Being colorblind isn't always the easiest, because there's codes on the dash, and a lot of times they go from amber to green, and if you can't differentiate amber to green, you're going to be driving around for a really long time,
That's true.
Yeah.
So, no prior experience.
Cool.
That's great.
That's good. That's good, yeah.
So during all of this, can we still get training? If someone wanted to, can you still get training?
It has been fun to do training during COVID. So I will set up a Zoom call with you, and I've learned how to basically dress a cat by words. It's like, put your hand over here, or do this over here. So, of course, we do Zoom training. We can walk through the tool. The Autel tool is really nice because it has the functionality to plug in, and you'll be able to see it on my screen, and I can see your tool on your screen. So there's some great capabilities, and we've been able to train throughout COVID and be able to have successful calibration technicians. So it hasn't stopped us.
That's awesome. You're still walking people through the whole training and everything.
Yeah, after this I have one. So Service Auto Glass. I'm going to give them a plug. Service Auto Glass.
Service Auto Glass.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So once they buy the system from you and they get the training, are they then just on their own? Do you guys have a help desk you can call? Is there a 800 number? Do you get stuck on something in the middle of it? Are there stuff like that to help you out?
So great question. Yes, there is a 1-800 number. Autel has their own support line. They're open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 6 to 6 for my West Coasters. And they are diagnostic technicians. They use TeamViewer, so they're always able to log into your tool if you have Wi-Fi capability. And of course, they're all since they're diagnostic technicians, they also have a back way that they can go in, and they're always willing to teach, learn, and support as you're on the phone with them. Now, as far as migrant support, for sure, if you have a problem, my phone rings probably from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. For calibration questions, and we're more than happy to help. And our sales reps actually are all trained in calibration, and they're constantly getting training to be able to help and support customers in the field. And we have multiple sales reps that are doing that right now that are frontline support.
That's awesome.
That's good. Good. So you're not in the dark, not all alone once you buy it.
Yeah.
It's a big investment, you know what I mean? A lot of guys get scared, I'm going to spend all this money and get an hour training and then be just left alone. So it's good to know.
It's a learning process. I have about 40,000 calibrations under my belt. I started with Pilkington and the Optiane team, and it's still some days, it'll get you, but it definitely is. Once you start doing it, once you start training, and you troubleshoot a few calibrations, it becomes a pretty straightforward process. So don't be afraid.
I think it's good too that you do it, because there's a lot of companies like myself where it's a husband and wife team, and it's giving confidence to the wife that there's more that she can do. I mean, some wives are really in it, some wives take the back seat a little bit. So I mean, I think it's really good that they see somebody, a female doing this, and that you can do it. That gives them a little more confidence too. That's a great thing.
Yeah, when I first started, the best thing was guys would walk into calibration training and they're like, "Is Emily here?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, that's me. I'm your calibration trainer." And they're like, "What are you going to teach?" And it's like,
I'm sure.
Let me show you.
Yeah.
So, it's been fun.
So, some of these vehicles, I think everyone has this kind of question. When do you think they're going to be self-calibrating?
Ooh, so we all thought in 2015 when GM released the technical service bulletin that said, our vehicles self-calibrate. I know a ton of people said, told ya. We're not going to worry about it. Unfortunately, as vehicles become more intelligent and their computer systems get more intelligent, there is a less chance that vehicles will be self-calibrating. And the reason why is, you see like the Lifetime movie of the crazy ex-husband hacking the vehicle and, she's running off the side of the road. Right. There was actually a group of hackers that did that. In 2015, they got into a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and they were actually able to start taking over the different modules of the vehicle to the point where they were actually able to pull the vehicle over and bring it to a stop.
Wow.
That's the reason, or that's how gateway modules become intimate or easy to access, is whenever we open them up. So Chrysler, they actually said, you know what, we're going to close them down. So many aftermarket scan tools can't calibrate Chryslers. Autel that can. They have a bypass module, and I can chat about that shortly, but if you open up those modules, it leaves open to be hacked. So really, we're not going to see self-calibrating vehicles probably in our lifetime. And by actually opening up that security gateway module, like the GM. So in 2017, they said, well, we really weren't all the way truthful. The vehicle will self-calibrate, but you have to open up the gateway module first. When you do that, you leave yourself susceptible to injuring the customer or liability, the big word liability, because you're leaving a vehicle that's uncalibrated and you're telling them, go over 32 miles an hour, make sure you have proper road lines, make sure you're not driving into the sun, make sure you're not doing this. Jenny from the block, she's gonna drive, 6 blocks down the road. She's gonna pick up her kids, and then she's gonna turn off her car, and she's not gonna worry about the warning signs until her husband starts yelling at her and saying, "What is this?" Right?
Right.
It's like,
Did tell me the lights on the dash?
yeah,
What'd you do?
Yeah.
Every time I give you the car.
that's right. That's why I have an ex-husband now. 2 minutes.
Yeah, we'll leave that for another episode. So, so you're in Arizona, you're in Phoenix right now. Shout out AZ. Woo.
Yeah.
So out here we have because our weather's so good, we have a lot of modified cars, and we have the desert guys with their 4x4s and everything's lifted trucks or lowered cars. So I've personally ran into this. I don't calibrate myself, but I have a company. They'll shout out Dynamic Calibrations. They do all my calibrations for me. And I had a car that only had a 1-inch lift on it. That was it, and they couldn't calibrate it. So I just this week I did a Ford truck with a 7-inch lift on it. So it's, I know it can't get calibrated. So is there anything coming up in the future to alleviate these problems?
Yeah, so it's an industry-wide, OEMs are dealing with it. And even if you buy your vehicle from a dealership and it comes with a lift, that lift is an aftermarket lift. These features are specified and made for OEM vehicles or OEM-specific vehicles. As soon as you start to modify it, you are going to see, and it really depends on make, model, and year. It's really interesting, the 1-inch lift that you had a problem calibrating. We've seen up to 4 inches of modified suspension and under be able to calibrate for the majority, but you are always going to have that one off where, maybe a Honda Civic got lowered and it's not within the parameters. We as an industry struggle to figure out, where is that threshold? And it seems the overall threshold for lifting has been 4 inches of suspension lift. GM is the first manufacturer to come out with actually a bypass tool or a bypass kit, and it can actually go up to a 1.5-inch lift. Okay, really? Nobody lifts lower than 6 inches, right? So, why bring a kitchen knife to,
Yeah, see, the situation I had was actually on a Subaru, and it was a little cross-trek, so it wasn't like a big lifted truck. And I know from what I've heard, Subarus can be very finicky with their calibrations to begin with. So I'm sure that had some factors into the whole situation also.
Completely, yeah. Subarus, environmentally for Subarus, I think we see that being a threshold. Also, codes. So history codes on a vehicle, they used to eliminate after 52 engine cycles with not that code reoccurring within those 52 engine cycles, that history code would erase. In newer vehicles, history codes aren't erasing unless you have a diagnostic tool that will erase it. With Subarus, you have to erase the history codes, and for some reason, every Subaru I come in contact with has more than 10 history codes, won't calibrate until you erase them. So it's really important that when you pick your calibration tool or you pick that calibration platform you go with, that you're able to see all of the codes in the vehicle, because there can be things, even like tire pressure. That tire pressure monitoring system can actually affect calibration, especially with Mazdas.
So I just wanted to, so up to 4 inches is calibratable?
Yeah, we've seen it.
Wow.
And that's with, I'm going to say an asterisk behind it, because we see odd ones like that Subaru Crosstrek that, an inch.
Yeah.
My little brother has a Ford Raptor, and it's lifted and it won't calibrate. It's heads
the
up.
Raptor, isn't the Raptor a factory lift though? Isn't it? Wouldn't that be different, or did he modify it even more?
It's modified. Yeah.
Even more. Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you go 4 inches from there, or is it like he's already kind of at the limit?
He is. And when his forward collision alert is engaged every time he goes underneath an underpass, his heads-up display and forward collision alert goes off, you're going to poo your pants the first time it happens if you're not really, if you don't know it's going to happen. So,
a continuation off of what you just said right there, Chris, you remember this conversation we had at SEMA with that guy was telling us where they had the Volkswagen with the camera that was wrong and it went under the bridge and came to a complete stop and got rear-ended?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Heard that.
The camera, because the bridge, it saw it and...
Yeah, I thought it was a wall in front of the car and just slammed on its brakes.
Yeah.
For sure. These systems are they will compensate, but for something like that, or as far as if it's a misaligned camera, you think 0.6 degrees is 57 inches off center, your camera will say, okay, you know what, I see that, but with lifted vehicles, it won't. And like that Volvo, like my brother's truck, it'll turn into a mess. And that's why calibration is so important. And now it's required, and that's really how we need to navigate through, especially our existing customers, when we told them, if it works, you'll be okay, come back if it doesn't. Well, now we need to tell them, I know we said this before where it was recommended, but now it's required. So now we need to take the additional steps to complete the repair process.
Speaking on going off of that, I hear a lot of guys say, well, I don't want to do it because I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to be liable. Well, by just touching the car, by changing the windshield, you've now opened yourself for liability. So, I understand the rationality where guys say, well, I'll just leave it alone and I won't be liable. Let the customer deal with it. It's like, I don't get that one bit at all.
No,
neither do I. And even a waiver, when someone says I don't want to be liable for it, it's like, well, you're not following the actual OEM repair process, because on those repair processes, it now says, look at the calibration process or move to the calibration process. So you basically did half of your job.
Right.
The other thing, a waiver, every state's different. We don't provide waivers for anyone, but children can't sign off their rights, or anyone else who is driving or sitting in the vehicle didn't sign their rights away to not have the vehicle taken back to original stance. Also, in some states, there is an infancy act, where if they were in an accident when they were an infant, they actually have 21 years, and I believe it's 6 months, to claim damages against an accident that was ensued when they were an infant. So, it's a big deal, and I don't think any of us probably keep our records for that long. So,
yeah. The calibration for me, when I really saw it was when I think we were in Colorado. We were driving Jeff's wife's car, and we just did the windshield on it with the OEM windshield, perfect set, everything, and we go and driving down the road, and he's all driving on top of the line, and nothing's reading, nothing's beeping. And then goes even further over, and then all of a sudden it starts beeping. So that, for me, that was like really where I was like, okay, this, you have to do this no matter what, Some when you thought you didn't, that was like a real, like, okay, it's gotta get done.
Off of that, Chris, when we got back to Phoenix from that trip, we took the car to the dealership, and because it's brand new still, and they said, oh, the camera's not working right. We didn't tell them the window was changed, so the camera's not working right. So they take it and go, oh yeah, there's a recall on this and that. So they claimed that they fixed it, okay? And I just redid the windshield a couple weeks ago, and I go to take the camera cover off, and the camera literally is just in there, just dangling. It's not even connected. So
from the dealer.
So.
They're the worst. We actually just worked with a customer I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Good.
So we worked with a customer last week in Arizona who had a Porsche, and they took it in. They don't have the means to calibrate, but they did due diligence, took it into the Porsche dealer, and they said, oh, your bracket's off 2 degrees. They have no way of checking that.
Right.
So it's like, but when the customer got the car back, there was like lint, and there was, of course, visible signs of fingerprints within the camera opening. So that they were like up there
messing
screwing around.
And then you're like, well, it won't calibrate because it's aftermarket glass. And it's like, it probably is not going to be able to calibrate because all of that lint and junk that's up there. Right. So we brought it over to Mygrant, and we wanted to make sure, is it the glass or is it the bracket? The majority of the time it's the bracket. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't have non-OE equivalency glass or good glass in our warehouse. So we did the calibration. It calibrated just fine after we cleaned the camera opening. So a lot of dealerships, they didn't get the education and they don't understand it, as well as their systems are barbaric compared to a lot of the aftermarket systems that are out there in the market. They can only calibrate their make. So it's,
Well, we got a lot of dealerships here where the service writers tell the customer, oh, you don't need to get it done. The service writers will tell them that. And Chris and I at SEMA this past year had a conversation with Ford's head of their collision department right in front of Peter Brown at the Auto Glass Safety Council booth. And we're telling them, your service writers are telling customers they don't have to calibrate the car. And he's looking at us like, no, they're not. And we're like, yeah, they are. So if it's a losing battle for guys like Chris and myself when we're trying to convince a customer, you need to do this. This is what you need to do. And then they go to the dealership and they go, no, those guys don't know what they're talking about. And let's be honest, service writers are no more than a guy at a car wash or a guy at anywhere trying to sell you something. They're not mechanics. They're not technically sound. They're CSRs. I mean, not to downplay a CSR, but that's all they are. They take your information, put it in a computer, and send you on your way. That's all they do. They don't know anything. And it's sad.
I got a question for Mygrant and you, I guess. So you said that you guys recalibrate the Porsche just to make sure. Is that something that you guys would be or could be looking at doing with all of these new windshields you get in? Because I know for a fact that, like you said, it's the brackets normally. There's a few of them that have always been a little off. So would that be something that you guys would be start to doing, is checking some of these windows, bringing a car into a location and, hey, we're going to replace this real quick and calibrate to make sure that the parts that we're buying are going to be satisfactory for the customer, and we know that they're going to calibrate as well.
I love the way you think. So, yes, our ADAS before COVID, the Mygrant Glass has expanded their ADAS team. We now have a trainer, and really what we're looking for when we have trainers is guys that have glass experience as well. I want our trainers and the people who are in our ADAS department to really know what the technician goes through on a day-to-day basis. I don't really want someone like me with an engineering background saying, hey, this is what you're going to do, and not know the grind that you guys go through. Although I've learned it. I didn't at the beginning. So our guys are going to be auto glass technicians who are also going to be ADAS trainers. And we have Clay, who's on our ADAS team, and that's what he's doing actually right now. We've got some really fun projects going on, some really cool things that we want to announce here in the future. But and we're more than happy to help as well. We have ADAS equipment in Texas. We have it here in Arizona. In California, we've got ADAS equipment. Portland, Raleigh, North Carolina. We're going to be expanding where that ADAS equipment is, and we want to be able to help too. Like, if you have a vehicle that can't calibrate and you bought the piece of glass from Mygrant, we want to make sure that you're calibrating. Dealerships a lot of times will say, oh, aftermarket glass, we tried, it won't calibrate. Yeah. If you don't have codes on the dash, so that means your forward collision alert, your lane departure warning is not blinking, that dealership actually never tried to attempt calibration. Once you even attempt calibration, the codes ensue because you put it into a learning mode. It won't work until it sees that target or sees it. So if you fail, and like the dealership, if they fail, then the codes will still be there.
You can't wipe them out. They'll pop up.
Yeah. So a lot of times it's like, question number one, when someone says, oh, we have a piece of glass and won't calibrate, it's like, what are the codes on the dash? And it's like, well, there are none. It's like, nobody ever calibrated it then. Nobody attempted. Someone was savvy enough to look to find the monogram or the logo, and yeah, nothing. So let's try this.
No, from that alone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit, y'all, and let's. I got a couple of questions to ask, and we're gonna start with you, Emily, since you travel a lot. And then we'll go to everybody because we all traveled and been somewhere within the last couple of months or so. So, when you travel, what's the best Wi-Fi name you've ever seen?
Oh, like FBI surveillance is always kind of weird.
Right.
Not that I'm shady or anything, but I always kind of wonder, like, maybe I won't look that up tonight. So that one always makes me giggle. But I have to say, I connect to my jetpack so much that I probably don't see half of the ones that I should see, but it's definitely surveillance.
Cool. What about you, Drew? What's the funniest or most creative Wi-Fi name you've seen recently?
Man, probably the same thing. Probably the FBI surveillance. You go into some like small little random city, and it's like the FBI surveillance. You're like, what the hell? Really?
Well, what about you, Jeff? You seen any creative ones?
I did see one that said something about that guy Snowden.
Okay.
Like they said something with his name in there like that. I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny. My personal Wi-Fi, I put if you follow Joe Rogan and you follow the great Elon Musk, then you'll know this. But my Wi-Fi is Boring Company. So if you know that, then he's kind of a funny joke.
Yeah, the funniest ones I've ever seen. So we actually go to SEMA. You see a lot of names, and in Vegas that whole week you see a lot of crazy names. But one of the ones I seen, the Land Before Time. So it's LAN, the Land Before Time. But the funniest one was it burns when I pee.
Oh, geez. I think I've seen that one.
So that one was like really creative and really funny.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So keeping it, so that was funny for me. But keeping it going on other questions, and we'll start with you, Jeff. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I would probably have to say pizza. Because pizza, you can get very creative. You can have it for breakfast, you can have it for dinner, you can have it for dessert. There's so many different ways. You can put so many different stuff on it. So pizza is probably the most universally modifiable food there is. So that's my opinion.
All right, cool. What about you, Drew? What would be your food?
Man, one food forever?
Yeah.
Man, I'd probably have to say pizza as well. Now, especially hearing, I didn't think about the whole breakfast thing either. I've made pizza breakfasts a lot.
Okay.
But, yeah, you could do breakfast, lunch, and dinner on pizza,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're good.
That makes sense. What about you, Emily? What would be yours?
Oh, man. Okay. So this is God honest, and I do it already because I travel a lot, and you get home, and there's nothing in the cupboard, right?
Right.
Cupboard. I sound like I'm 900 years old. But refried beans.
Refried beans?
Okay.
And if that doesn't blow you away, the beans will, So.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
all the time.
okay. Have you since you're in Phoenix, have you ever been to Carolinas?
So Drew Johnson is bringing me a Carolinas burrito today for lunch.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm married to a Mexican woman, so if I die after saying this, you know what happened. But they actually make the best tortillas on the planet. So.
Okay, so I'm getting a double tortilla because I have a strong relationship with flour tortillas and corn. Don't disturb me.
These are Carolina's flour tortillas are probably the best ever.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
So if I could be a food, that was gonna be my food. I would actually be a burrito because I was sticking with the same thing. You can eat a burrito for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you can switch it. And you can switch it up. Yeah, and you switch it up. Yeah. So the last question I got for everybody, being mindful of everybody's time, and everybody got work to do. Would you rather nosy neighbors or noisy neighbors? So let's start with you, Emily. Which would you prefer?
Ooh, nosy neighbors, which I don't have because I just met them over quarantine and I've lived there for 8 months. So
Right.
definitely nosy neighbors. I think they'll keep your stuff safe.
Yep.
So yeah, and I don't want to hear anyone's AC/DC or Def Leppard at 2 a.m. I want to hear it, just not at 2 a.m.
Right.
From their house.
Right.
Yeah, you'll see the bad side of me in my bunny slippers and
Oh, geez.
internet if you're loud.
Cool. So what would you prefer, Drift, noisy or nosy?
What kind of noisy are we talking about? Yeah, are we talking about music noise or like car working noise or
It could be either, man. It could be a noisy car. It could
noise
be
in general?
just in general.
You know, I think I'm gonna go with the nosy neighbor because I'm kind of the nosy neighbor. You know, I'm like I got the cameras on the whole block. Like I'm, who's that? What are you doing over here? I didn't see your car before.
Right.
You know? So, definitely the nosy neighbor. Yeah, watching out for your stuff and everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what about you, Jeff? Nosy or noisy?
I'm gonna have to go with the nosy people, and I've lived between the two of them. At one time we had the noisy, and it wasn't the AC/DC rock. It was the fights in the front porch, the screaming and yelling, and I got no time for that. I mean, I have a very peaceful life. I don't need to bring your drama in my life. And yeah, watching over your stuff. We've had neighbors where as soon as you pull up their driveway, these people were at your house today. So it's like I appreciate that. It's good looking out because too many people nowadays they pay no mind to nobody else. They don't give a crap.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I'll say my neighbor just got his car broken into broad daylight, 2 p.m. Right across the street from the house. I got it on the cameras and everything, watching the kid. Like this kid contemplated this shit for about 10 minutes before he went over and broke into it. I was like, dude, you are sitting way too long.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I would go for the nosy neighbor too. So nosy across the board. You rather people looking out for you and being willing to actually let somebody know something's happening. So yeah. Nosy for everybody. And lastly, we appreciate everybody for joining us today. Emily, we really appreciate you for the information on the Mygrant Mondays, for the calibrations. Very informational, very, very helpful in just helping people answer the common questions that they didn't know in regards to they need training, don't need training, and how to get a hold of you, Mygrant, technical support. So we appreciate you and Drift, Jeff. We appreciate y'all. And until next time, everybody take care and keep hustling.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Emily. Tell Drew I said hi.
I will.
All right, have a good day.
All right, bye.
Right on.